Welcome to the Traveling Tukes. Today we're just doing a short update to our other video on driving Interstate 75 to Florida. This time we'll update you on a few more things we have tried or learned since that video. If you haven't seen it, we'll put a link to that one as we show more of the route, pros and cons, and comparisons on driving versus flying. So let's dive in. Once you've decided you want to drive, the first thing to think about is the time of year and your route. If you're going in the winter, we would suggest Interstate 75 instead of through the mountains on I-90. This is our personal preference due to the very windy roads and cooler temperatures. You can see what the route looks like on our I-90 video. It is a gorgeous route at other times of the year. Whichever way you do drive, you should do a few things prior to leaving. The first thing is to check your car. This may be a no-brainer to some, but if you're not a car person, don't forget to have your vehicle serviced with proper coolants, etc. and winter tires for the winter if you're driving through the northern states. Also, it's a good idea to take some emergency gear like blankets, water, some non-perishable food, just to keep on hand in case you're ever stuck on the side of the road. Having said this, we have had a good trip without storms both in February and March, but you just don't know. Snacks also come in handy if you get stuck in traffic due to an accident. You don't want a car full of hangry people. Also then, have a plan in case you break down or get a flat. Another thing to think about is, do you have CAA or does your car come with roadside assistance? If not, we've included some numbers here that will save you from searching online. Some states also have numbers posted on the highway as well. And then plan for stops. I will always try to book a hotel or motel before a trip, or a minimum before the stop. I've had too many bad experiences of driving as far as you can and then booking. There were times that there were conventions and my family had to just keep driving from city to city until there was an opening. Also, if you wait, you may get the leftover hotels, and they may not be the nicest, or they can be the most expensive ones left. Another reason for booking ahead is that sometimes you get internet discounts versus walking in. And if you don't know where to stay, we have a couple of videos on the I-75 that we would return to. So if you're looking for some recommendations, there's a couple there. Another thing to pay attention to is the popular times of the year, like when snowbirds travel. Apparently a lot of hotels start filling up if you're traveling home around the beginning of April. You can also check the book Dave Hunter's Along Interstate I-75 that has some valuable information on stops and places to see along your route. So if you want to stop at any interesting locations near your hotel, you can make this more of a road trip instead of a destination drive. I previously used this book to look for stops along the route for gas and fast food, but one of the issues I had was using this in the dark. So this time, instead of using the book, what we did find is we had the app called iExit, and this app worked perfectly. So we would plan for our breaks. So Andrew would just say we will need gas in about 40 kilometers. So I would look at the app and see what stop that was, what gas stations are there, and what fast food was there. So then if all of us in the car liked the choice, we would stop. This worked great, except just pay attention to the time that the places close, because there were a few choices that were closed prior to our arrival, as we didn't really look up the closing times.
We stopped at a coffee shop called the Big B Coffee, if I can pronounce it. I got the teddy bear, which is caramel white chocolate latte, and you got the caramel marble. It's expensive, like it's more like a high-end coffee shop. With two muffins, it came to $18.02 US. The flavor is odd, like very odd, like cow manure.
No, it's not cow manure. It's an edible odd, but it is odd. Cow manure is not edible.
Okay, I haven't eaten cow manure either, so I don't know. It smells good, smells sweet.
The next thing to plan for is your map and routes. We have mostly used Google Maps. We like to use this real time versus downloading it, as it just keeps us updated so that we see speed traps, accidents, etc.
It's non-stop speed traps along this area here, which we are, what route? Just past the Magnolia Plantation. It's just non-stop.
Our viewers said that while driving in Georgia with a Canadian license plate, be extra careful of exceeding the speed limit at all because they know that you won't come back to fight a $400 ticket because it'll cost you more to get there. Google Maps saved us from sitting in accident traffic a few times. Having said that, our most recent trip to Florida, we weren't notified in time and we were stuck in an accident just outside of Orlando on the I-4 for over an hour. It's really anticlimactic when you're so close to your destination and tired and you're just sitting in traffic. While we were sitting in traffic, we quickly looked at Waze and saw that there were many Waze drivers rerouting just before the accident, so it could be that Waze is the app to use. Let us know your thoughts because when we have looked into this, it's kind of been a split decision for others. Which brings us to data. A lot of people have asked us what we use for data in the States. Andrew has always used Rogers Roam Like Home, which cost him around $12 per day, and then he just uses his data plan like normal. I purchased a T-Mobile SIM card the last 2 trips and it ended up working great. It's simple to take out your own SIM card and exchange to the new one. It did give me a US phone number, which I actually prefer. Having an iPhone worked great with family and friends who could use iMessage and FaceTime, and the US number also came in handy for receiving texts from restaurants, etc. when reserving anything. For some reason, we never seem to get these texts with our Canadian numbers. If you do use the actual SIM card, make sure you keep your SIM card and don't lose it. Also, you need to register it a couple of days prior to arrival. Another type that was recommended was an Arlo or an eSIM instead of the actual SIM card. Apparently you get to keep your own number. I may try that on our next trip, so if you have a favorite, let us know in the comments. So another thing to keep in mind is toll roads and passes. So we've learned more about the other toll passes and thought we would share this. We have the Unipass, which we still use as it's not something that expires and you can keep using it over and over, and you just add money to your EasyPass account. So let's look at the various tolls. First question we always get is, do I need it? Or can I pay cash? Or can I just get billed without one? Years ago, you could pay cash at most of the tolls, and it seemed more locals used the passes, but things have changed over the years and there are very few cash tolls left. So what are your choices? The first option is called Toll by Plate. This is a payment option for customers who do not have a pass. You can drive most toll roads other than the Florida managed lanes. With Toll by Plate, a photo is taken of the vehicle's license plate when no Sunpass or any other Florida-compatible transponder is detected, as it travels under the tolling equipment. A toll enforcement invoice is then mailed to the registered owner of the vehicle for the toll incurred over a 30-day period, plus a $2.50 administration charge. Toll by Plate cannot be used on Florida managed lanes, and if you do travel in one of these lanes without one of the passes, you will be subject to a $25 daily violation charge. Also, if you don't get your invoice for some reason, you will get another reminder, but now you'll have late fees. So that's why we went with the transponder. So what are your transponder choices? Well, they do have a couple to choose from. We'll get into these with costs, as you do have to pay to buy them, but once you've bought it, they can be used multiple times. So one of the cheapest is called the Sunpass Mini. This is Florida's prepaid toll program. They have a basic pass that is the cheapest, but it is the most limited pass as well. This would be the cheapest if you were only renting a car or not traveling to too many states. They also have the Sunpass Pro, or you can get a Unipass, which is the one we have. We'll explain the differences between those two now. First, we'll start with the Unipass. The Unipass is a product of ePass, which is owned and operated by the Central Florida Expressway Authority, CFX. You must set up an ePass account to use this. You prepay the account, and as you use the tolls, they deduct it from your balance. These funds that they earn are invested locally in Central Florida. There are also apparently drive-up locations where you can just top up your account, but we've always just done this online. The next one is the Sunpass, which is owned and operated by Florida's Turnpike Enterprise, but works very similar with their revenues invested statewide. So here's a comparison for both of these. As you'll see, the Sunpass Mini costs $4.99 and is usable in about 5 states. The Sunpass and Unipass have many more states that they will work in, plus they can be used on motorcycles. The Sunpass Pro currently has a few more states than the Unipass. We'll put a link below if you're interested. Once you receive it, they provide instructions on how to set up an account and how to deposit into your account. As you'll see here, the Sunpass Pro and the Unipass work at a variety of different states, and they also work for different toll roads. Speaking of other toll roads, we did find out that the Unipass worked when crossing into New York on the Peace Bridge, but we found that it did not work on the Detroit when we crossed over on the Ambassador Bridge. We did have to pay cash there. The other thing we found out was that if you plan on using the toll roads in Georgia, it will say Peach Pass, but your Unipass or Sunpass Pro will work on them. We used this the first time coming home from Florida, but our last trip we went to take it on the way there and it was closed. We have found out that they only open one at a time, so either the southbound will be open or the northbound. They actually have a schedule of which one is open and when. Here's the current schedule, but you can look this up online and we'll put a link below just in case that they do change their time frames. We would really suggest using the HOV lane, the high occupancy vehicle lane on the far left. It's separated by a double white line and it's marked with a diamond. These lanes are for vehicles with 2 or more people, including the driver, motorcycles, and clean fuel vehicles, which must be licensed with an alternative fuel license plate. But they do really help get past the traffic. So if you've driven in any larger cities and don't have an issue, don't let Atlanta driving scare you. We have found that Toronto driving is much worse for traffic, congestion, and delays.
We're getting right into the Atlanta traffic here. Still in the HOV lane, moving slow.
So another thing to think about if you're driving is just a few other tips are like packing. If you're stopping en route at a hotel, one more thing that comes in handy is just to have a small overnight bag so that you're not having to lug your big suitcases in for your one-night stay. Another thing to think about is fueling. When you're fueling up your car. We mentioned this before in our driving to Florida on the I-90, but if you haven't seen that, this tip can be helpful. When you're fueling up in the States, we usually use our credit card, so you often have to prepay before you fill up, and it will ask for your zip code. And it won't work if you just choose a random zip code. So there is a workaround to use for this, and basically you're using the numbers in your postal code plus 00 at the end. So for example, if your postal code was M2M4L4, you would use 24400. So just the numbers and then 00. So let us know in the comments if you have any questions or tips for others. Find this useful if you could like and subscribe, as it really helps our channel. And we wish you happy travels and toot to you later.